Most people never become wealthy, not because they're stupid or lazy, but because they quit right before it gets good. The journey to financial freedom is painfully deceptive. At first, you put money aside, you invest religiously, and in return, you get scraps. You see tiny numbers grow even tinier amounts, and you begin to wonder, is this really worth it? You're promised a future where money multiplies like magic, but all you feel is the weight of sacrifice with none of the reward. This is the core reason compounding feels like a scam to the beginner. You don't see anything happen for years, but that's the setup. What no one tells you, because most people don't make it this far, is that compounding isn't linear. It's exponential. It doesn't just grow, it explodes. And it does so when it crosses a key threshold, around $100,000. That's the tipping point. That's the moment where interest finally starts earning its own interest and your money begins working harder than you. Before $100,000, it's pure hustle, discipline, and doubt. After $100,000, it's momentum, power, and peace. The journey to $100,000 is not just financially challenging, it's emotionally and psychologically brutal. At the beginning, when you're between $0 and $10,000, the goal of building wealth feels like a myth. You're not really investing at this point, you're just trying to stay afloat. Rent, food, transport, and emergency expenses, every part of life is competing for your income. Even if you manage to save $100 or $200 a month, it feels like a drop in an ocean that's constantly evaporating. You put that money in an account, maybe into a basic investment, and you watch it grow by a few dollars in a whole month. That's not inspiring. It's demoralizing. It feels like you're being punished for doing the right thing. But deep beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. You're building identity, character, and the financial discipline that will become your superpower later. You're developing the habits that 90% of people never master. But right now, it doesn't feel like growth. It feels like failure disguised as effort. As you climb past $10,000 and reach the $25,000 zone, something strange happens. You're doing everything right, but the results still feel incredibly underwhelming. You might be earning 8% on your money, which sounds great until you realize that 8% of $20,000 is only $1,600. That's $133 a month. Barely enough to cover a night out or pay a utility bill. Emotionally, this is where doubt creeps in like a thief in the night. You hear about others making quick money, someone flipping a car, hitting big on crypto, or landing a six-figure job. You begin to question yourself. Is this all worth it? Why am I suffering for what feels like nothing? You've made real sacrifices, missed vacations, ignored temptations, and lived below your means. But the payoff feels insulting. This is the phase where most people start to get distracted. They begin looking for shortcuts, and in chasing quick wins, they unknowingly trade away the guaranteed long-term victory of compounding. Crossing into the $25,000 to $50,000 range brings some stability, but not much satisfaction. You finally have a portfolio big enough to see movement during good months, maybe a $2,000 annual return, but one financial emergency could wipe that out in a heartbeat. You've entered the almost but not quite phase. You're not broke anymore, but you don't feel wealthy either. This is where people feel stuck. There's enough money to be afraid of losing it, but not enough to feel any real financial security. It creates a mental prison. You're scared to take risks, scared to spend, and tempted to abandon the plan altogether because it still feels like it's not moving fast enough. Worse, you've been doing this for years and others seem to be making it overnight. This is the emotional trap, the illusion that you're doing it wrong, when in fact, you're just a few steps away from where it all changes. Approaching $50,000 to $75,000 is what I call the compounding desert. You've already fought the hardest emotional and behavioral battles. You've been disciplined, focused, consistent, but the progress still doesn't feel rewarding. Your investments are growing, but not fast enough to be exciting. You might earn $4,000 or $5,000 in a good year, but that's not the type of growth that changes your life. This is where lifestyle pressure shows up. People around you begin asking, "Why are you still living like you're broke?" You feel tempted to loosen up, spend more, and reward yourself. But here's the twist. This stage feels like a plateau, but it's actually the foundation for acceleration. You're just under the surface of a major breakthrough. Most people quit here because they don't realize how close they are to flipping the script. But if you hold on, if you keep going for just a little longer, you cross into six-figure territory, and that's where compounding stops crawling and starts running. Hitting $100,000 is the point where everything begins to feel different, not just psychologically, but mathematically. When you hit that six-figure mark, your money finally starts to breathe. It's like turning the ignition on an engine that had been in neutral for years. At 8% returns, your $100,000 is now earning $8,000 per year. That's $666 per month, and you didn't do anything for it. You didn't trade hours, didn't grind, and didn't hustle. Your money earned that on its own. This is when you stop just being a saver and become a wealth builder. The power dynamic shifts. Instead of you doing all the work, your capital joins in the fight and begins pulling its own weight. It's no longer just your income building wealth, it's your assets too. And now, they're compounding their growth. But something even bigger happens than just the numbers. Your mindset changes. It's no longer just a theory in a finance book or a YouTube video from a millionaire guru. It's real. You log in and see thousands earned from interest, dividends, or market growth, and you didn't touch it. That psychological shift is the turning point. Doubt no longer owns you. You don't panic during market dips. You don't chase hype or question your plan. You trust the process. Belief in compounding replaces emotional friction. And this is a moment most people never reach because they quit before they ever get to feel it. Once belief takes hold, the math starts doing all the talking. Your $100,000 becomes $108,000, then $116,000, then $125,000, and so on. Each year, the snowball grows larger, not because you added more to it, but because it's growing on its own. And when you do keep contributing, even modestly, the growth becomes even more aggressive. This is the money begets money phase. Your portfolio starts expanding faster than your savings. Even small market upticks now equal thousands in value. You don't need to take wild risks or chase trends. You're finally winning through consistency, not volatility. You realize wealth isn't about hitting home runs. It's about never striking out while slowly building momentum. You've turned wealth building from a sprint into a compounding machine, and that's when the game becomes sustainable. What really separates the wealthy from everyone else starts to show here. They know the power of activating the third engine. Before $100,000, your net worth was driven by two things: how much you earn and how much you save. That's it. But once you cross six figures, a third engine kicks in: compound growth. This engine doesn't get tired, doesn't take days off, and doesn't depend on your labor. It works even when you don't. And the more you feed it, the harder it works. This is the same engine the rich protect with everything they have, because it allows them to stop chasing money and start owning their time. You begin to realize that the real goal isn't to work harder or earn more. It's to build a machine that grows whether you show up or not. That's what $100,000 unlocks. Not just faster growth, but more freedom, more peace, and the start of real generational wealth. Once you break through the $100,000 barrier, everything begins to speed up in ways that defy logic. What once took you years to build now seems to grow in months. Going from $100,000 to $200,000 doesn't feel like twice the effort. It feels easier because your money is now doing a significant portion of the lifting. Earning $8,000, $9,000, or even $10,000 a year just from growth becomes your new baseline. If you continue contributing on top of that, even just a few hundred per month, the doubling accelerates. This is when the process shifts from linear progression to exponential expansion. Your portfolio no longer reflects just your contributions. It reflects time compounding on top of itself. You're no longer just growing, you're multiplying. This is why people call compounding the eighth wonder of the world, because once it gets momentum, it becomes unstoppable. The most profound shift during this phase is that you begin flipping your relationship with time. In your 20s and early 30s, you traded hours for dollars, but now, every passing year grows your money. Time is no longer an enemy, it's your greatest ally. You stop chasing quick wins because you've seen what slow, steady compounding growth can do. You start living differently. You stop panicking, sleep better, and realize that freedom doesn't come from earning more, it comes from owning assets that grow. This is the part of compounding that few people ever get to experience, not because it's hidden, but because most give up too soon. They think it's not working when it actually is. But for those who stay the course, compounding becomes the ultimate cheat code, the one that builds wealth while you live your life. Most people never hit the $100,000 mark, not because it's impossible, but because they quit too early. The journey to $100,000 is front-loaded with the hardest work, discipline, sacrifice, and delayed gratification. It's the part where growth feels painfully slow. You save, invest, and sometimes all you get is a few $100s in return. It's discouraging. Bills come, life happens, and people pull their money out, or worse, they never start. The idea of saving thousands feels like climbing a mountain barefoot, and without visible results early on, people abandon the journey. That's why this stage isn't just about numbers, it's a mental war. It separates those who are serious from those who are only interested when it's easy. The harsh truth is that society doesn't reward patience anymore. Everyone wants instant returns, viral success, and overnight millions. But compounding laughs at that mentality. It only favors the consistent. The $100,000 milestone is like a gateway to a different financial world, but most people spend their whole lives circling it, never breaking through. Not because they couldn't, but because they didn't believe long enough. They spent 10 years buying into distractions instead of buying assets. They chose lifestyle inflation over wealth building. Reaching $100,000 requires a shift in mindset. It demands you stop trying to look rich and start becoming rich. That's the test most people fail. Once you've built that $100,000 base, the most underrated force in wealth creation kicks in: staying invested. The market doesn't always go up in a straight line. There will be dips, crashes, scary headlines, but those who stay in the game are the ones who win. Selling out during fear means you're locking in losses and cutting off your compound engine. Most people lose money in the market not because the market is bad, but because they panic. They let short-term emotion sabotage long-term growth. But those who stay invested, through crashes, corrections, and chaos, are the ones who witness the magic of exponential compounding over decades. Staying in is the ultimate flex. It's where the real wealth is made. This is where patience becomes your superpower. From $100,000 onward, your money works harder than you do. But it only does that if you let it ride. Staying invested allows your dividends to reinvest, your growth to snowball, and your net worth to stack quietly in the background. The longer you stay invested, the more disproportionate the gains become. It's not linear, It's explosive. You start with $100,000, then suddenly it's $200,000, then $400,000, then $800,000, and it feels like it happened all at once. But it didn't. It was years of staying consistent while others gave up. That's the power most people never see. Once you hit $100,000, the game changes. You don't stop, you double down. You've proven that discipline works. Now, your job is to protect the momentum. Keep investing, but also start optimizing. Eliminate debt faster, automate your investments, increase your monthly contributions if your income allows. This is where you start adding fuel to the fire. You also become more intentional with where your money goes, whether it's index funds, dividend stocks, real estate, or a mix. You've graduated from beginner status. Now it's about building systems and strategy. It's no longer just about saving, it's about scaling. You also need to protect your mindset. Success can make people soft. They hit a number and think they've arrived. But if you're serious about generational wealth, you realize $100,000 is only the first stepping stone. Now is the time to educate yourself even more about taxes, asset protection, long-term planning. You don't just want growth, you want sustainable, protected growth. You start thinking decades ahead, not just about your next paycheck. You've unlocked the door to financial freedom, but now you have to walk through it wisely. This is where wealth isn't just earned, it's managed, preserved, and multiplied. Reaching $100,000 isn't just a financial milestone, it's a mindset transformation. It's the point where the struggle starts to shift in your favor, where time begins to reward your discipline, and where compounding finally starts to roar. Most never reach it because they stop too soon, distracted by comfort, lifestyle inflation, or fear. But for those who stay the course, the journey after $100,000 is no longer about grinding. It's about growth on autopilot. The smartest thing you can do now is keep going. Protect the momentum, stay invested, and trust the process. Because once you cross that threshold, you're not just making money anymore. Your money is making wealth.